Hi, quick question. What's your favorite Resident Evil 2 classic scenario? Think upon it while you're watching this video, and when you're done, tell me in the comments why you think I should appreciate your favorite scenario. You guys are gonna be so proud of me. I finally get Resident Evil 2. You all may remember in my previous videos that while I appreciated Resident Evil 2 for its accomplishments at the time, nothing about it hooked me like Remake did. Remake's puzzles were more about interacting with the environment and combining items than just bringing items from one place to another like in RE2. There isn't anything like reorganizing the bookshelf to make an image or combining different chemicals to make the V-Jolt formula in the second game. I also appreciate the lore and mystery surrounding the mansion in Remake, especially the messed up family dynamic due to the Spencers being taken advantage of. Reading about the slow decline of its inhabitants is nothing short of haunting. This intrigue carries over to Resident Evil 2, such as when reading the Watchtower Guard's diary where he documents his friend slowly becoming a zombie, or figuring out how Irons methodically dismantled the STAR's police capabilities so the T-Virus can spread throughout Raccoon City. But by this point, we as the player know about the disease and how it ruins a person, and the outbreak is city-wide now in comparison to just being trapped in the mansion. While the police station is iconic in its own right, it's missing Spencer Mansion's sense of discovery and isolation. The slow realization that what happened here is no accident. RE2 repeats a lot of these story beats and applies them to a wider outbreak, and they're just less novel to me is all. But what got me to appreciate RE2 is experiencing one of the series' strengths firsthand: replayability.
Resident Evil 2.
To this very day, Capcom builds Resident Evil with replayability in mind. This is why there are multiple difficulty levels, New Game Plus playthroughs, one-off weapon unlocks, and campaign rankings. When finally sitting down to play Claire B, the final of the 4 playthroughs I was missing, my Leon A save data was just gone. Deleted. After throwing a Wesker-sized tantrum,
In hell.
I realized this is a good thing considering it had been over a year since my Leon B video. Playing Leon A would refresh my gameplay and story knowledge, and even better, I could play it on normal difficulty instead of easy. Normal is exactly what I needed to enhance my gameplay experience. This difficulty means, in theory, that I'm dying faster, facing more zombies, and receiving less ammo than on easy. It will make things more of a challenge, in turn keeping me more engaged as I replay Leon A. Now, even though it's been a while, I remembered a lot of the police station's layout and its puzzle solutions due to their simpler nature. I also knew it's sometimes best to dodge enemies instead of fighting everyone that I encounter, which is even more vital on normal difficulty. But knowing is different than doing, and actually executing on that knowledge was what made playing so fun. My first time through this game, I was stumbling through the police station, constantly struggling with my inventory management and getting bitten by zombies. I was also defeating most zombies in my path due to all the ammo I was getting. This replay was significantly different. Armed with confidence, I weaved through zombies, saved ammo by firing off only when I needed to, like if a licker came into play, and solved puzzles without a second thought. This being my 4th playthrough of Resident Evil 2, I've come a long way in the art of inventory management. I left green herbs as they lie, and instead of panicking about if I could fit them in my inventory at their moment of discovery, I mentally noted their location and calmly left them be. They would be there if needed. I did the same with ammo, often leaving excess pistol or shotgun ammo in the safe room chest in exchange for an open inventory slot. As long as I prioritized dodging enemies, I knew I would always find another chest to reload when needed. I had a better understanding of room layouts and their purpose, such as the outer stairwell from floors 1 to 2. It's littered with green herbs and never has any zombies, serving as a safe space that's easily accessible and often required as we navigate the station, an alternative safe room if you will. Its layout is deliberate, and while this may seem obvious to longtime players, it's not a top-of-mind observation when playing the game for the first time. It goes to show, though, that my skills and acquired knowledge are only half of my newfound understanding of this game. The other half is Capcom's game and level design. Much like how I trust From Software when it comes to Dark Souls, in that its boss and item placement intend on teaching you to get good, I learned to trust our boy Kamiya and his development team. There are no random item placements. There's a process here. My favorite example of this is the green precinct key. You'll notice that by the time you start playing as Ada in the sewers near the game's halfway point, Leon has opened most of the precinct doors by now, except for the green ones. In fact, the green precinct key is the only key that isn't available in the station itself. It feels weird heading to a whole other area without opening them, as you may think we have to clear the police station before moving on. But Ada ends up finding the key once we play as her, and once she gives it to Leon, we simply head back to the first floor and both of its respective doors are right nearby, and through one of them we finally get the gear to solve that puzzle in the attic. On our way there, we're most likely to take the ladder in the lobby that leads to the library right underneath the attic, especially if you're going for a fast completion time. The game is prepared for this, and throws a liquor up the ladder to surprise you, despite it not being there the many times you've explored before. It's one of a few times the game plays with your expectations, and it teaches you to never assume safety. Then, when placing the gear and acquiring the final chess piece to unlock the door in the station's lower levels, there's a chute that leads right to that door. Again, this path may be obvious to series veterans, but the game's thoughtful pacing wasn't as clearly laid out to me until this playthrough. By not having to learn the game's basics, I was afforded the ability to think ahead and consider how the game was trying to guide me. It's a sense of mastery and understanding that only comes from replayability. This, paired with the challenge of normal mode, had me really feeling this playthrough, and it had me hyped to finally get into Claire B. Imagine you're Capcom in, say, late 1996. You've recently put out a banger in Resident Evil 1. It's quickly becoming the fastest selling PlayStation game of all time. You're a few months into producing its sequel, a hotly anticipated follow-up. You want to exceed all expectations and improve on all of its aspects. How do you achieve this? You quite literally double it. In an interview with PlayStation Magazine in June 1998, 5 months after the release of Resident Evil 2, game director Hideki Kamiya revealed that by the end of developing the original Resident Evil, the team already had the idea to tell one story through multiple perspectives. Resident Evil 1 dabbles in this, with Chris and Jill's playthroughs having different weapons, characters, and story beats, though their campaigns don't directly affect one another, nor do the characters really meet up. Kamiya wanted to expand upon this with 2 very different scenarios. Despite having this idea before starting on Resident Evil 2, Kamiya and co didn't actually implement it until rebooting the game when it was 70% finished due to quality concerns. It was at this point the crew implemented Resident Evil 2's Zapping system, the idea that choices and actions made in your first playthrough would affect how certain moments played out in your second, tying them together and, in theory, creating a more immersive experience. As a result, 4 scenarios were born: Leon A, whose choices affect Claire B, and Claire A, which leads into Leon B. The A and B scenarios play out chronologically from a story perspective, where we see Leon's half and Claire's half depending on which we pick first. Despite some gameplay inconsistencies where both characters carry out the same actions, such as putting out the helicopter fire with the valve handle, Capcom executed their idea quite well. I've gone over Leon A, Claire A, and Leon B in my previous videos, and this video is an extension on those, covering the Claire B side of things. But here's the thing, Leon A and Claire B is a different story in many ways than Claire A and Leon B, to the point where neither story is fully canon. Future games apparently pick and choose elements from either one, but because they're 2 different stories, they're almost inherently at separate levels of quality. Having played the whole game now, this difference in quality is quite clear. Y'all, there's no easy way to say this, but I don't like Claire's B scenario.
Look, I'm sorry I bothered you, okay?
And that makes me sad. It has me questioning the entire Leon A, Claire B half of Resident Evil 2. Part of this disappointment is due to me having played Leon B first, as the two are quite alike in their first half, with similar puzzles and action sequences. Mr. X appears in many of the same spots, and every boss is the same, albeit one taking place in a different location. Otherwise, Claire B hardly justifies its existence from a story perspective. It repeats many of Claire A's most interesting moments, and with a few exceptions, the moments it replaces are uninteresting at worst and unimpactful fan service at best. I feel the same way about Leon A as I do Claire B, maybe worse. I remarked in my Leon B video that a game having 4 campaigns sounds like amazing value, and I would have loved that as a kid. But having finally played all 4, I wish they went with one scenario for each character like in Resident Evil 1, while still retaining the scenario's differences. The Claire A, Leon B route, for instance, is fairly impactful. In this route, Claire learns that her brother, Chris, left for Europe to chase Umbrella. We meet the unbearable Chief Irons and discover his reasoning for letting the station get overrun, run into Annette and learn that Sherry is the Birkin's daughter, we play as Sherry multiple times, and rush to cure Sherry from the G-Virus infection by creating an antidote. In Leon B, Leon actually meets Sherry. We spend quite a bit of time with Ada, and she gets a badass set of final moments through eliminating Mr. X. We run into an investigative journalist who was working to uncover Chief Iron's deception, and even see the more empathetic side of our main man. While parts of this were in Leon's A scenario, all of the important moments from Leon A carry into Leon B, while Leon B expands upon them in ways that Leon A failed to. Again, this is discussed in my previous videos on the subject, so for the sake of redundancy, I won't get into them too much right now. Now, let's get into the details. Claire's got the same badass motorcycle intro as her A scenario, which is neat, but the rest of her opening moments are quite similar to Leon B. She enters the station through the same back way, gets inside through the same second floor entrance, and even faces the same lickers in the same hallway. Though I ran from them this time as I'm playing on normal now and I'm not ready to fight them with just a pistol. We head down to the main lobby through the ladder where Leon gets his shotgun while Claire her grenade launcher. And it's on this playthrough I realize how grateful I am to get a powerful weapon this early on, as the B scenarios Mr. X in the early introduction to Lickers are a scary threat, and this is the game providing you some well-needed assistance. In Leon B, I tried fighting them with my pistol and it was a massive mistake. I make my way into the lobby's second floor, fight my way through a set of zombies, and see the unicorn medal in a stone holder. Wait a minute, that's where it was in Leon's B scenario. I make my way to the first floor office, and the valve handle is in the same spot as well. I play a bit further and use the valve handle to put out the helicopter fire. Sure enough, Mr. X dropped in from the sky right after doing so. If Claire needed to find my heart for a puzzle solution, she'd find it sunk into my stomach, as this was a moment of clarity for me. Nearly all of the first half of Claire's B scenario is a copy of Leon's B scenario, at least when it comes to the B scenario specific changes. Or rather, the first half of both B scenarios are very similar, as some might have played Claire B before Leon B and realized the same thing. Now, I probably should have realized this would be the case when so much of Leon B was the same as his A scenario, but his B scenario showed so much more character, and revealed some interesting story beats as I noted in my video on it. I actually felt like I got to know Leon better, and it felt like he was on a mission unlike his meandering A scenario. In Claire B, things feel lazy is never the right word, because nothing in game development is ever lazy, but we don't see a new side of Claire, nor do we learn much in terms of lore. This is a compliment to Claire A, as that felt like a full exploration of both her character and the story as a whole. For example, she goes to great lengths to save Sherry from a G-Virus infection, and stands up to Irons, the powerful police chief. And through her actions, we learn about the origins of the G-Virus and what Irons did wrong in the first place. In Claire B, all of this is either repeated or replaced by something lesser. Let's illustrate some examples by examining the first half of Claire B, both its story and gameplay moments. The following situations and item locations are in the exact same spot in both Claire B and Leon B. The unicorn medal and its subsequent spade key, the valve handle location, Mr. X dropping in after putting out the helicopter fire, the blue ID card location and the liquor scare in Tyrannos's room, Tyrannos's gem locations, the zombies appearing in the safe room scare, Mr. X coming into the furnace puzzle room with the gear, the club key gathered by the alternate character, Sherry or Ada, the Birkin transformation fight, though this one is in a different spot, and every single note. I don't think there's a single new note in Claire's B scenario, but I am open to the possibility that I missed one. With that in mind, let's also look at the moments carried over from Claire A. Every stone piece location, the C4 in the file room and the detonator in the room with the dead cop, Irons' reveal and his creepy conversation about the mayor's daughter, as well as his conversation down below his office, meeting Sherry behind Irons' office, the heart key on Irons' desk afterward, the fax machine reveal in the Star's office. I say again, nearly every impactful moment in the first half of Claire B is carried over from Claire A, or is also in Leon B, wholly negating their impact on the play experience if you're to play it last like I did. It's not that these moments are bad by themselves. As I said, Claire A and Leon B are my two favorite scenarios, but it's their implementation in Claire B and Resident Evil 2 overall. Why is there a fourth scenario if so much of it is pulled from the previous ones? And as a byproduct, why have the B scenario at all for the same reasons? Resident Evil 1 has more than enough replay value without these hollow add-ons, and two scenarios with multiple difficulties deliver everything that's needed there. Credit where it's due, there are a few unique B scenario moments in its first half. Let's look at some moments that actually stand out in Claire B. The grenade launcher being in the lobby rather than the Star's office, the lighter being in the room with the step ladder. The crank was there in Claire A, and Leon has the lighter by default in his scenario. In Claire B, the crank is in the basement near the dog cells. The bowgun is in the Star's office rather than the back entrance. We don't run into Leon after the Star's office like we do in Claire A, though that's because we just ran into him in the office per his A scenario. But then we find the diamond precinct key just sitting in the Star's office. Claire then sees Sherry, but Sherry just runs away and Claire doesn't even say anything. Though there is a cool moment when you follow Sherry into the next room and see a dead body getting eaten by zombies. The camera placement hides the body and you might think it's the little girl you just saw, and you won't know for sure until you clear the zombies out. Irons' death is a little different as well. Instead of the parasite exploding out of him, he's pulled down the trapdoor and eviscerated. Then, when Claire interacts with the trapdoor, his body shoots up. A moment that made me jump. We then head down that trapdoor and fight the pipe-wielding Birkin instead of the G-Virus spawn like in Claire A. That said, we also fight this same boss in Leon B near Leon's sewer entrance. These moments are fine, but nothing here justifies a whole new playthrough. I understand that to some degree I'm throwing shade at Claire B because it's the last scenario I played, but I can't really help that. If anything, my beef with it is proof that the B scenario idea is flawed in general. Is this a reductive look at the B scenarios? It may come across that way at first, but I'm trying to decide the value in this campaign. 2 of the 4 scenarios to me are kinda pointless, and this is what's on my mind the entire time while playing, and I can't pretend that isn't important. If I'm replaying a scenario, I'm okay with knowing what happens, like when I replayed Leon A before Claire B. If I'm playing a new scenario for the first time and so many things repeat when I was expecting something new, a lot of the suspense and pondering is simply gone. And that's what I'm playing these games for. These are the most important parts to me, what stand out to me, and what makes me enjoy them. As proof of this, I did leave out one notable Claire B moment to discuss in detail. Mr. X doesn't appear in the hallway adjacent to Iron's office in Claire B like he did in Leon B. Instead, Claire is heading down from the attic with our newly acquired bluestone when Mr. X climbs over the 3rd floor railing. The monster corners us with no way around him, forcing us to fight back. If you haven't figured out you can down him yet, now's the moment. You're likely going to fire off your most powerful weapons in hopes that he's taken down. This is what I'm looking for in an additional playthrough, a moment that's tense and inescapable, and that requires you to do something new. I'd rather have more of this or no new campaign at all. Another smaller touch is Iron's death, which I already mentioned. Again, his body shoots up when you interact with the trapdoor. I was anticipating a scare when I got down the ladder, not when just interacting with it. It's a good scare, and this change has a story reason as well. Once you climb down the ladder, you realize it's Birkin that attacked Irons, not the parasite like in Claire A. Birkin isn't trying to infect Irons, he just attacked him and threw his body back up. Another nice attention to detail. It's worth noting that Leon B repeats a lot as well, such as with Ben the journalist and Leon getting shot, as well as a few of Ada's key moments, but even if item locations and such were exactly the same in Leon B as they were Leon A, its unique story moments would have made up for it. Leon interacts with Sherry, which is great, even saving her life at Claire's command. Leon enters Iron's office in his B scenario, and even though Leon never meets the guy, it's cool to see our main man entering his boss's room and reading his journals, especially with the added understanding from the journalist Ben. Leon entering Iron's office allows the player to feel this personal connection. We witness Leon's self-awareness and see him frustrated that no one ever listens to him. And even so, he won't give up on doing what's right.
Man, why doesn't anyone ever listen to me?
I don't love the extended romance between him and Ada, but not because it isn't interesting, I just don't think it's well deserved. It still develops both characters, and the two even share a kiss. I could go on, and already have in my Leon B video. I could see some pushback on my opinion being like, well, if you don't like Claire's B scenario, how would you have done it? Did you expect them to just overhaul the game for the B scenarios? And that's the thing, I never wanted that level of effort. If it's between what we've got and not having a B scenario, I'd rather not have them at all. This opinion isn't even fueled by the story inconsistencies as I mentioned in my other videos. This is from a fun factor alone. In my Leon B video, I mentioned that the B scenario exists to test my skills. But after seeing Claire B, I realized that if they wanted to preserve the B scenario's additional challenge, do it through difficulty levels. Implement Mr. X on a higher difficulty where the stories are the same, but he amps up the challenge. I do think there was room for Mr. X to be included in the A scenarios anyways, and hey, they did that in Resident Evil 2 Remake, so I must be somewhat right. I understand I may be asking way too much of this game for the time, but I'm trying to present alternatives instead of just complaining. At the end of the day, I'm not demanding an expansive set of B scenarios with loads of new content or for Capcom to have added an AI dog partner. I would have been happy with just two separate scenarios. The first half of Leon A and the latter half of his B merged into one, and Claire A as it stands. But this is only a fair critique if we discuss the rest of Claire B. The latter half of Claire B stands out in a few ways over its first half. About the point that we enter the sewers with Sherry. After losing Sherry to the sewers, we don't actually play as her like we do in Claire A. Instead, we continue as Claire and find Leon after his fateful bullet from Annette. Leon explains what happened, and Claire learns about Ada for the first time in any scenario so far, if I'm not mistaken. I do wonder if they'll get to meet then. We get to see more of Leon's selflessness as he asks Claire to find Ada instead of helping him out.
You gotta find her before something happens.
But you've been shot.
I'll be okay.
We move on and find the wolf medal in the same spot as in Leon A, where Birkin massacred these soldiers, whereas Sherry finds it in Claire A before falling down the trash chute. Next, we find Annette climbing out of the liquid after Ada decked her in Leon A, a stark contrast from her pointing a gun at Claire upon first meet in Claire A. She then accuses us of wanting her husband's G-virus sample before the two discuss Sherry's whereabouts. Annette is much sadder than Claire's meet with her in Claire A, and hearing some of the same lines delivered, but this time while heartbroken, is genuinely moving.
I told her to go to the police station. What's she doing here? I told her to go to the police building. Why is she here?
After Ada physically knocked her down, Claire's revelation that Sherry is running around alone destroyed her mentally. Annette collapses after noting that Sherry and the G-virus are both in danger. This is a notable switch from Claire A, where Miss Birkin notes that Mr. Birkin will be after their daughter in the virus. In Claire B, she states that Sherry and the virus are in general danger, maybe referring to Mr. X? We also don't hear Sherry yell here at the end of the conversation. Also a cool touch, Ada sends a net off the second level of this room into the water in Leon A, and we see her climb out on the first floor to interrupt Claire. Nice attention to detail here. Next is the dumping area. Claire B is the only scenario I experienced in which nothing happens here. In Claire A, we fight the alligator and find Sherry after she's infected by Birkin, requiring us to synthesize an antidote before leaving. In Leon A, we fight the alligator and get bandaged up by Ada. Leon B, we find Ada again, but there's no alligator fight. In Claire B, there's simply nothing here, as Sherry doesn't fall down and doesn't get poisoned. I did learn that if you defeat the alligator without blowing its head up as either character in their A scenario, simply gunning it down instead, it will appear in the B scenario and you'll have to fight it again. A super neat implementation of the zapping system and something that would definitely scare the hell out of me if it happened. Again, credit where it's due. After grabbing the Eagle medal in the same spot up top the sewage control room, we make our way to the tram and run into Sherry. A much less interesting find than discovering her in the dumping area after she was infected. Claire asks her about the G-Virus, but Sherry doesn't know what Claire is talking about. Of course, we know from Leon B that the G-Virus is hidden in her locket as Ada finds it, but Claire and Sherry don't know that yet. Leon B doesn't tie into Claire B anyways, but this is a fact that carries across scenarios. There's no tram fight in Claire B since Leon has the fight with Birkin smashing his hands through the roof in Leon A, and we continue, leaving Sherry in the control room as Leon did Ada in his B scenario. I smell a Mr. X coming. I was right. I'm no longer scared of the man, and I quickly take him down with Claire's fire grenades, recover some acid rounds from his body, and scram back to Sherry so we can head down to the factory. We enter the stationary train and find a hole in it from Leon's fight with the Stage 2 Birkin mutation in his A scenario. Neat little continuity there, though Claire ends up fighting the same Birkin mutation as Leon B, the Stage 3 one, which is less than stellar. If you'll give me a moment to be proud of myself though, I actually pull off some sick dodges in the fight's latter half while taking this thing down with Claire's fire grenades. Much more than I could have pulled off a few playthroughs ago, so it's nice to know that I'm actively getting better at this game. You'd hope so after this many playthroughs, right? The train halts halfway down like in Leon B, and Claire gives Sherry her jacket as she did in her A scenario, even though she isn't infected this time. I'm glad they kept this. We're also reminded of how sad Sherry is that her parents never spend time with her, which in turn makes me sad alongside her. Great. We then play through the underground lab section from Leon B and fight the upgraded lickers to turn on the nearby elevator. The tram continues on with Sherry in it alone. We head down to find it, and surprise, Sherry is gone just like Ada was.
Where is she?
Welp, we've got to turn on the power and progress, so we'll deal with that later. The red keycard is in the same room as Leon B, the one where we burn the plant monster in either A scenario and activate the POW gas, as well as some grenade launcher and bowgun ammo. I activated the POW gas in Leon A, so I mentally prepare to fight off the upgraded plant monsters alongside the advanced lickers and zombies. Claire and I activate the power using the fuse case and open the door to the poison gas plants. We head down even further and fight off the 3 advanced lickers and a ton of advanced zombies, hordes of them really, to grab the power room key, and take down the giant moth to register Claire as the second guest user at the computer. This, of course, allows us to get into the special room upstairs with additional ammo. However, we're interrupted by a net in the security room on our way back up, pointing a gun at us this time and demanding Sherry's location, even though we told her last time we don't know where she is, and this remains true. A security monitor behind Claire shows Mr. X chasing our girl, and a net reveals that the G-Virus is in Sherry's locket, which explains Mr. X's desire to catch her. I enter the fingerprint-locked room and grab some magnum bullets to prepare for the fight, opposite the extra submachine gun ammo I found in Leon B. We head to the power room and see Mr. X cornering Sherry, clearly after the G-Virus. The monster smashes the control panel, and Claire yells for Sherry to throw the medallion over.
Good girl. Now run, Sherry.
Sherry escapes into the vent while Claire goads Mr. X on with what feels like multiple takes of the same intended dialogue stitched together. It's quite funny.
As for you, come and get it. I've got what you want. Come on. Here. This is what you're looking for, right? Fine. Then go get it.
Either one of these lines would have worked by themselves, but having them together sounds pretty awkward and lends some lighthearted humor to the situation. Either way, Claire tosses the G-Virus into the fire while Mr. X dives after it, seeming to sacrifice himself in the process.
Sucker.
This is a pretty epic moment, though the confrontation is more exciting in Leon B, with Ada being smashed into the control panel after she shoots the beast in the face while he's choking her. We do have to suffer through Leon's cringy dialogue there, but at least it gives him some character. And, what's especially interesting, Ada has the G-Virus as Leon leaves her in Leon B. We know she survives as she throws the rocket launcher at us and is still wearing the necklace, so she clearly takes the G-Virus with her. I believe Leon B is the only ending where the G-Virus sample makes it out, as it gets crushed in Claire A and Leon throws it into a pit in Leon A. But back to Claire in Claire B, her victory is cut short as the self-destruct sequence activates due to Mr. X's brutality. Claire rushes back through the lab to find Sherry so we can get the hell out of here, as we see Mr. X's mutilated hand emerge from the lava. Arriving near the fuse spot, Claire and I come upon what might be the saddest scene in all 4 scenarios. It's Sherry crying near her mother, who's laying on the ground with a wounded head, assumedly after she shoots Ada in Leon A. In the first interaction of mother and daughter we witness, Annette apologizes for being a terrible one and passes on from her wounds when the ceiling collapsed on her during Leon A. A lot of trauma happens on this walkway, though we've little time to let our emotions get the better of us. Claire grabs Sherry and we head to the escape train. But as any Leon B player knows, we need to turn on the power and defeat Mr. X's final form. And I don't actually have much to report here. My practice from the Birkin fight on the tram paid off, or Claire's grenade launcher is just super powerful, but I was able to beat this dude on my first try. This fight does include one of the more interesting moments in Claire B from a lore perspective though, and that it's the only time Ada and Claire interact in any of the 4 scenarios. And it's Ada giving Claire a rocket launcher, which is awesome. This interaction isn't lost on Claire either, as she yells,
Who are you?
In the middle of a fight with a Titan to no avail. Maybe she'll learn in a later game. It takes me a second to fire the rocket launcher here, as Mr. X gets the drop on me, and for a moment I thought I was going to die. But thankfully, I fire off a rocket without missing this time around, and enjoy a sweet victory montage once again. As I alluded to in this video's intro, one benefit to this boss being on a replay is that I was able to properly prepare for him, bringing with a fair amount of ammo and knowledge of the fight to win with little issue. Claire and I mow down enemy zombies with the submachine gun on our way back to start the escape train, take off, grab Leon, and Claire and Sherry share a moment before being rudely interrupted by Birkin's final G-Virus mutation. What's neat is that I have 1 rocket left to fire off, which I didn't get to do in Leon B. What's not so neat is I didn't defeat the boss with it, so I've got to finish it off with my fire grenades. Though according to the Resident Evil 2 wiki, if Claire or Leon are out of ammo, the monster will die by itself. A helpful touch if true. We win fairly easily. Leon gets a few one-liners in.
Come and get it!
Sherry stops the train as our 2 heroes experience a role reversal. Leon suddenly appears at the bottom like Claire did in his B scenario. Everyone runs away, and the boss explodes. What's nice about this ending compared to Leon B's is the dialogue is a bit more optimistic. Leon compliments Sherry, and Claire ends off on wanting to save Chris. It's a lot less cringe, even if Leon repeats Claire's "is something following us?" even after the boss exploded, and I like that we end on Claire wanting to save Chris rather than Leon's "we need to stop Umbrella." Both are important, but Claire's more personal reason for continuing is cool. Plus, it's relevant to the first game, where we actually play as Chris. So here's the thing about Claire B. Seeing Annette and Sherry interact was emotionally impactful. Claire throwing the G-Virus into the fire to bait Mr. X was badass, but none of it lives up to the drama of Sherry being poisoned and us desperately crafting a cure in Claire A. Having Birkin be so far gone that he infects his own daughter is an incredible story beat, showcasing what happens when you obsess over dangerous work and the effects it has on your family time and time again. The consequences are significant, with Birkin taking down his wife as well. Nothing in the latter half of Claire B matches the tension of bringing Sherry the antidote before it's too late. Claire's panic as we wait for it to work after giving it to her.
Come on, Sherry, wake up!
In Claire B, Claire's goal is to save Sherry. Before, it was to cure her. While it's nice that Annette's last moments were with her daughter in Claire B, the story's lessons are more impactful if she dies at her husband's hands. She still gets to send Claire off to find her daughter and will die knowing that she'll be safe, but she doesn't get the satisfaction of seeing her one last time. Why did we need this fourth scenario? If most of Claire B's first half is the same as Claire A, and if the latter half of Claire B fails to live up to Claire A's, why didn't we just get Claire A and B's best moments in one scenario? I don't see how this wouldn't make for a better experience. In a 1998 developer interview with PlayStation Magazine, Resident Evil 2 producer Shinji Mikami says the following about the B scenarios. Naturally, once you get used to the game, the zombies become less of a threat, and your stress and fear are both diminished. By changing the difficulty and enemy patterns, we were able to hold on to some of that. I agree with him. Capcom could have achieved this difficulty switch by just switching things up on, well, higher difficulties without adding alternate stories through the B scenarios. That's the thing. The gameplay isn't bad on a replay. Resident Evil 2 is fun to play. Characters control well, there's a great selection of weapons, I enjoy the game's environmental storytelling, and each character feels powerful enough while not feeling invincible. It's the lackluster story in literally half of the scenarios that ruin things for me. Maybe I should have kept my expectations in check, but the game presents these scenarios as major parts of it, so it's going to get some major critiques. Yes, changing the A and B scenarios would have required changing the zapping system, but it's certainly possible. The stories could still take place alongside one another with gameplay from one affecting the other. None of the zapping moments affect the story anyway. We could still have whoever you play as first take the submachine gun or the side pack and have it removed in the second scenario. Both characters start in the station's back area in a B scenario, and most of their key items are in the same spots, so it shouldn't matter who you play as second. While the story would need some tweaks, a first and second playthrough can be easily interchangeable. Here's an example. Again, my ideal scenario is Claire A's existing one, and then the first half of Leon A merged with Leon B's latter half. In this case, let's say we're playing as Leon first. We see Annette run from Leon when Mr. X drops down in the underground lab. That's the last we see of her in Leon's scenario. Then when we're playing as Claire, we know that Annette ends up running into Claire and is downed by her husband's claws. If we still wanted the emotional Sherry moment that's in Claire B, let's have her appear next to Annette as she's explaining the antidote. Sherry already randomly appeared in Claire B after the sewer section. Why can't that happen here? When playing Leon's scenario, we'd just see Annette run off. When playing Claire's, we'd see where Annette ran to and experience her death. I could go on forever about this sort of thing, but I hope I've made my point clear. As I've said, part of me is sad. I'm not seeing the magic that many seem to have seen when this game came out. And I sometimes wonder if I'm just being too jaded or not giving the game enough of a chance. But then I remember my recent experiences with Pikmin, Ocarina of Time, the original Castlevania, the original Zelda, Silent Hill 2, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Sonic Adventure 2, Ape Escape, the classic Final Fantasies, so many old games. I appreciate, or in some cases adore, what I've played. Aside from Castlevania, I've played all of these in the last 6 to 8 months alone. I love how experimental these games are, how focused they are, and how they lack bloat, how every mechanic contributes to a larger whole. I love older games in general, so it can't be that I'm jaded. I think I'm just not connecting with RE2 in the ways that I'd like. I can appreciate its great moments, and it has a lot of them, but the whole is not enough for me. Of course, it's not the worst thing in the world to not like a game released before I was born, but it's always sad to not click with a longtime classic. Otherwise, that's Resident Evil 2. I appreciate everyone who stuck with me across these 4 videos. Get ready for Resident Evil 3. Thanks for indulging me.